In today's tutorial, we're going to develop our very first own trading strategy on CryptoHopper. We will even backtest it to make sure it makes us some real money, at least paper money. Before we get started, know that this is the third part of a series of tutorials. If you haven't already, we recommend you subscribe to this channel and also view the previous tutorials. Also, and as a disclaimer, please be advised that any content in this video does not constitute any trading advice and is purely educational. Also, we are not in any way compensated by CryptoHopper for this review. Now, developing your own strategy is about as exciting as it gets. First of all, you are in complete control of the parameters you establish to enter a trade, and secondly, you will never miss a chance again when it comes up. Lastly, you will remove the emotion from trades, which are usually more harmful than beneficial. Now, before you start planning on buying your dream luxury car already, it's important to master some elements of technical analysis. The good news is that technical analysis has been around for a long time and there is loads of literature online. Technical analysis for crypto trading is exactly the same as it is for other equities or currencies. If you have no clue what an RSI is or a MACD, I suggest you pause this video and go on an excursion to understand these and other technical indicators. This tutorial does assume a basic understanding of technical analysis. Let's get started. CryptoHopper is an automated trading platform. However, it lacks a bit of the visual components required to assess when to enter a trade. So we will be using a website called tradingview.com to visualize at which point in time we want to enter a trade. Only once we are clear about that, we will configure the strategy on CryptoHopper. So if you don't have one already, go ahead and create an account on tradingview.com. It's free. Now let's take a look at a chart, and we're going to look at Ethereum to Bitcoin. Personally, I usually like trading on the 1 hour chart. However, you may change this as you wish. My recommendation is to avoid anything below the 30 minutes though, as this makes, little sense, and it may cloud your sense of direction of the currency pair overall. In the current scenario, you can see we have a trading pair that is on a downward trend. This makes it very interesting and also challenging to develop a strategy for. It's so much easier to make money on an upward trend. So this is exactly what we like. As you can see, there are up and downward movements resulting in a lot of volatility, which is also something we like. So how do we capture when to enter the trade? That's the question we should be asking ourselves right now. If you remember, in a previous tutorial we agreed that we would sell after a certain percentage profit. Hence, our entire focus right now is on finding the best entry-level price point. CryptoHopper relies on some of the most commonly used indicators for technical analysis, like moving averages, stochastic, RSI, MACD, and even the Bollinger Bands. So let's start with the bands. As you can see here, I've added an indicator just by going here, indicator, typing Bollinger Bands, right? Clicked here, that gave me the Bollinger Bands here. Now, as you can see, the default is quite good, and even the slightly tweaked version I already put in here, it hits quite a few of the lowest price points here in the chart. So you want to obviously tweak the settings of the Bollinger Bands so that it crosses under the band, which is the signal for a buy essentially, right? So you can do that by changing the inputs and essentially the standard deviation. So by changing the length, obviously you make the band more granular. By increasing the length, so to 50, you will see the band changes to a much more smoothed average. So for this specific pair, I thought 18 looked pretty decent, because it did hit some of the moments here where it looked like it was going to open a trade, which it could then trade out of with that 2.5% profit. I've also changed the standard deviation to 1.9, so I hit more of these, let's say, lower price points here than I would with the default, which is 2. Again, this really is up to you to decide, and you don't have to follow exactly with the same values if you're watching this tutorial at a different point in time, or simply think something else would work better for you. The next strategy or indicator that I added was the RSI. So again, indicator, RSI, and then just relative strength index, click on it. And this will plot you the RSI down here. The RSI will add some reassurance about the overbought and oversold situation of the currency pairs. So I've changed the lower band here to 25 because I figured this was triggering a bit more meaningful, but you could also put this up to 30 and it will capture a little bit more. So you will get a buy signal here, which is actually not so great because when you're buying here, we're probably going to hit a stop loss by the time we get down here. So I will revert this back to 25. So also here you can change the length, which will either make it smoother, like so, but this will never, help you get a buy signal because it's just too smooth. So, it's really about playing around and seeing where you get a good indicator, maybe even 11, when to buy, right? So here we said we didn't want to buy, but here we definitely would want to buy. That looks like a great opportunity. And here, debatable, depends where it's buying, but you can see there's probably enough room to grow. It's a shame we're not getting enough signal here, but the Bollinger Bands do, so that should be enough. So once we're happy with this, and it kind of looks like it would be buying at the right point in time, let's test this. In order to test this, we need to bring this back into CryptoHopper. So I'm just going to put the two screens next to each other. Go into our hopper and we go into strategies and we create a new strategy. We'll give the strategy a name, and the name will be RSI and Bollinger Bands, and then I'll just make this a little bit bigger and hit save. Now let's add the two indicators that we've used in our trading view charts. And as you can see here, we have the Bollinger Bands. We'll just close this for now, and we'll add the RSI, relative strength index here, close. Next, we need to replicate the settings we used on the chart for the things to match. So we need to change the candle size to an hour and tweak the standard deviation and the RSI parameters. Let's do that right now. So we said we're looking at the 1 hour chart. What did we have? 18 with a 1.9 standard deviation. So period is 18, lower and upper. We'll just leave the simple moving average, and we'll not keep the signal once it gets hit. So it'll only be valid when it gets met. RSI, same logic. change this to the hour. We're playing around with the RSI period. I changed that to 11 and 25 at the lower band. So RSI period 11 and then 25. So the signal is when the value is less than or equal to 25. Also here, we do not keep the signal. Save. Let me just expand this. We're pretty much done, and we're going to test this now. So we're going to test this on Binance, and we're going to test this with Ethereum, which is the pair we used to build the strategy in the first place. So what's going on? The analysis that is being run is unfortunately a little basic here. The main takeaway is to show you where CryptoHopper would have entered a trade and how many buy signals your strategy would have thrown out. If there are only 3 trades entered over a month's period, that may not be such a great outcome. If there are 10,000 trades, probably the same thing. You may want to be aiming for a strategy that gives you at least 2 to 3 signals a day. So over the period here of the roughly month duration, 90 signals, if not more. Remember, not all of these signals will be processed based on the configuration settings of your hopper. So the number of signals also depends on the time frame you're analyzing. So using the daily chart versus the hourly chart may result in a different outcome. So just play around a bit with that. Now let's pick a date where a buy signal was triggered once this is over here, and then we'll go to TradingView and see whether we agree that this was a good signal or not. We'll try and pick a date where there's a strong movement in the trading pair that we either agree or disagree with. So just completed. Perfect. Down here you see the list of all the trades. In total there were 787 buy signals, which is quite a lot, but that's okay. And here you can see all of them over the period between the 11th of July and the 21st of June. Now let's have a look at some of these. Let's take this one here. It doesn't really matter. I just want to see why did it buy on July 4th. Right, there's only one buy here. That makes it a bit easier to understand. But on July 4th, a bit hard to see at what time there was a purchase made. Now let's have a look at July 4th. Alright, that looks pretty understandable. I'm just zooming in a little bit here, so no worries. Yeah, this looks like this may have triggered the buy. As you can see, this went under the Bollinger Bands for a moment here. So that may have triggered a buy, which is not a bad buy because, you know, afterwards the pair went up again, so you may have realized the 2.5% gain. We don't know that right now, but in general terms, this was probably the best point in time to buy. Let's see if there's another moment in time, maybe something we don't agree with necessarily. Here on July 2nd, there's a lot of buys when it looks like the chart is rather high. And where is July 2nd? Yeah, so this is here, right? So you can see that the strategy bought as it's supposed to, but this was a bad signal, right? Because buying here was a silly idea, because once you enter the buy here, everything just went downhill for a long time. So to compensate for that, you need to make sure the Bollinger Band covers this, right? So you can either increase the standard deviation, right? So let's make this, I'll make it a bit extreme so you can see what the difference means. Make this 2.5, and even then it's still going to trigger a buy here. So it's such a strong movement that just went down that even this would not compensate. So if we put 25 on here, you know, it would probably just about not trigger a buy. Maybe even would still trigger one. The problem is at this point we've lost any other opportunity to trigger any other buys. So sometimes you'll just have to accept the losses, right? If these were all good trades so far, and this is the one that you're going to end up losing 10%, that may just be life. Now, if you want to play around with this, you can also save different versions as a copy here, right? So you can tweak it around and see if it gets better if you change some of those settings of the Bollinger Bands. Going back to the designer screen, you can see at the bottom that you can establish also the minimum number of signals that have to be met before a buy or a sell is triggered. In our case, only the buy. This may help reduce false signals. It also can reduce the number of positions, though, that get triggered, because now there have to be 2 conditions that are met. Previously, there was only 1, so that's automatically going to reduce the number of opportunities that arise. Another option to point out is the requirement of an indicator to be considered a necessary signal. That is in the parameter here. If you select this as a necessary signal, no buy will be opened unless the condition of the Bollinger Band is met. Again, something to play around with. So, are you ready for some backtesting? Let's save this and go back to the backtesting menu. In the config tester here, we're going to select Ethereum because that's the currency we've been playing around with. And we're going to load our existing config, which is all the configuration we did in the previous tutorial. Now, we're going to select our strategy, which is the RSI and Bollinger Bands. And we're going to choose a period down here, select period. That is similar to the period we've just been looking at in the charts. So let me just check again. We changed here. It was roughly 11th of June to, I don't know, 7th of July or something like that. It's only indicative, so we have similar charts we keep looking at the whole time. And then you can see that the take profit is 2.5 per our strategy, stop loss is 10 per our strategy, no trailing stop loss, no trailing stop buy, and the period we just defined. Now this is going to take a moment while the system loads the historic data for the pair. Sometimes it will trigger an error, so you just run this one more time and you say again, start backtest. Usually it works the second time, right? And now the backtest will highlight when there were buy signals and actually sell signals as well. We don't care about the sell signals so much because for them it would mean we have to set up the whole strategy with sell signals. Now, if you feel that your strategy is entering too many trades or too few trades, then you should go back to the strategy designer and tweak some parameters. However, always bear in mind that you are trading multiple currency pairs at the same time, so having one trade a day on a single currency pair may not be a problem if you're trading 30 or 40 currency pairs in total. Once the test is complete, you will be able to see in the backtest history, which is up here, and we'll give you a reminder of how this backtest performed, but it will not give you the full configuration. So what I always do is I always take a screenshot if I have the feeling I had a really good run, because that screenshot will then have the name of the strategy and some of the main configuration parameters. All right, you can see there's quite a lot of buying and selling going on here. Again, the selling is really more of a take profit based on our strategy. You can see it's all in that 2.5 to 3% range, which is great. Looks quite good. And then there's a few open positions that will not necessarily close immediately, but you can see there's quite a nice number of trades that are throwing us the 2.5 to 3%. And if you think about it, that's really all that you want to have. Because if you can turn around your entire capital on a single day by doing all these 2.5% trades, it would mean that your capital increases at a 2.5% rate per day, which is very, very good. Now, you're not going to have every day like this, but I've been working with this platform for a while now, and it can be achieved for a week or two, and then usually there's some correction, so you will lose some, but depending on the strategy you choose, this can work really nicely and in your favor. Once again, backtesting is not indicative of future results, so this is merely aimed at showing you where entry signals would have been triggered, and the next step is really to put this to the test with the actual hopper for future dates and to see how this works. As you can see, backtesting can take some time. CryptoHopper does use the 5-minute resolution, even if you select the hourly chart, to get all the price movements that you need. In this case, honestly, not too bad. 4.3% maximum profit. We had 319 successful sells. We had 0 sells with loss, but don't overinterpret this too much. The average holding time was 3 days. To me, that's a bit high. I would prefer something a bit lower to be able to turn around our capital a bit faster, but that's something we can look at. The stop loss percentage, as we had said, was 10, and overall this looks like a pretty decent outcome for a downward trend. So you can imagine that if in a downward trend this works so well, in an upward trend it's going to probably perform equally, if not better. So congratulations, you have now developed your very own strategy, and in the next tutorial we will start deploying this in our paper trading simulation to see how it performs in real life. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next tutorial coming up soon. Thank you.